Hey out there, this is March 30th, 2014, and there's a couple things on my mind today that I'd like to talk about. And I was watching the Alex Jones channel on YouTube, and Gerald Celente was a guest they have on. He's the trends forecaster, big gold guy. And while I agree with Gerald on a lot of his frustration about the economic system. In this last show, which I guess was aired Friday, he started going off on Jimmy Carter, and I'm not going to defend Jimmy Carter where he was wrong because I'm pretty much anti-war. I think we should try to do everything we can to avoid war, and I thought that's what he did in the Iranian hostage rescue attempt. Which, of course, as everybody knows, was a failure. But at least it didn't lead to World War III, which is what a lot of people in high places right now would like. I wished at least Mr. Celente had pointed out the good things that Jimmy Carter did. And the main thing I could think of was his understanding of sound currency. And it's the most imperative issue of all. It's the answer to everything, is sound currency. It's the answer to all society's solvable issues. It's not going to solve the problem of sin. It's not going to solve the problem of disease or accidents or natural disasters. But it will solve the problem of poverty, okay? Which should be solved. In all the time, the thousands of years humanity's had on Earth to solve that one problem, and look where we're at. And you've got to understand that it's invented. It is artificial scarcity. It is planned austerity. Read Cloward and Piven strategy, and you will understand that what I'm saying is true. And they say, well, you caught us. And here's why we're doing this. Okay? Is because human activity is destroying the planet with the CO2, so we can't let everybody drive cars and use air conditioning. Everybody's heard that logic. And a lot of people that, I think are very intelligent and who I admire are falling into this. Little by little, they're becoming to believe the Earth is overpopulated and human activity is screwing things up. But I wonder how many of those people really know about the suppressed clean technology. People like Stan Meyer that were assassinated because they wouldn't sell out to the oil companies with his onboard hydrogen production unit. I mean, it's rudimentary science to me, folks. We all know we have hydrogen production plants. So the idea of having miniaturized hydrogen production units under the hood of your car, to me, doesn't sound like science fiction at all. But you understand how many toes you're stepping on in the oil industry. So back to Jimmy Carter in the oil industry. See, back in the 70s when I first started driving, I was just a teenager. And what happened was the oil companies were trying to jack up prices, not based on supply and demand, not based on supply shortages or anything like that, or hyper, demand, anything like that. Everything was working fine. But citing shortages, that's the pretext that they were using. But Jimmy Carter understood it was a lie. He knew the facts and figures. He knew the stats. And so he didn't allow it. And the way he did this was pretty ingenious as far as I'm concerned, because you could have come right out and used protectionist policy in this case. But he did something I thought that was ingenious, and he took the country to rationing. And we lowered the speed limit on the highways. So he gave them a double whammy. First, by lowering the speed limit, America was saving countless millions of gallons of gasoline a year. But also, he didn't allow them to raise the prices. He said, well, if there's a shortage, then we're going to rationing. So the way it was, it broke down into your license plate, whether you had an odd or an even number. Your last digit or first, I can't remember now. But that's the way it was, so that you didn't have lines of cars at the gas station. And it really helped, and it worked. It really worked. And, the funny thing is it couldn't have lasted 2 weeks. I don't remember exactly, but it's like, oh, suddenly there's no shortage anymore. And what do you know? Gasoline prices didn't go through the roof. So you know what? I love Jimmy Carter. And you know what? That guy works for free for Habitat for Humanity, doing dangerous, hard labor. He proves by example that he believes the things that he says, okay? He believes that housing should be a basic human right. And before you start slamming me as some kind of a commie or socialist radical, okay, that believes in entitlements, consider how I believe about taxes, okay? I believe in reverse taxation. So any of you out there that say I'm all about taxing others, the Robin Hood thing, no. This planet is yours and mine. You understand? We're born rich, not by my decree or the decree of any man, but by the decree of God. Do you understand? This planet belongs to God. It's His creation. You belong to God. You're His creation. We're His children collectively, and we were born very wealthy. That's the true reality. But if you want to buy the reality you're handed by the Rothschilds clan, okay, and their ilk, the Rockefellers, the Clintons and Bushes, and on and on and on, these elitist, hypocritical, murderous thugs have to it. Guys like Kissinger, who our presidents get advice from. That class, the royalty class, the blood drinkers, all the, the Satanists, all those guys that have to it. Then you be part of that establishment and you go to hell. Okay, but I choose to believe that there is a God and that everything is a miracle. The earth's a miracle. I'm a miracle. You're a miracle. We're miracles. We're loved. And it's not God withholding anything good from us. It's not God withholding your rightful inheritance, your birthright, your share of wealth on this planet for the short time that you're here. I would not withhold anything from you. Would you withhold anything from me? Think long and hard about how you answer, because it's not important that you answer to me at all. It's important that you're able to answer your conscience, your umbilical cord to God Almighty. That's what it is. It's all about being judged on a one-on-one basis. You being prepared to stand before God on your own, and I'll be prepared to stand before God on my own and answer for my beliefs. But if I had my way, we'd have reverse taxation. So how could any of the conservatives that claim to be anti-tax object? Consider what I say. And conversely, how could any of the liberals that traditionally believe in entitlements, how could they object? You understand? The only way they could is if they say, well, wait a minute, somehow I'm going to lose in this equation. Well, you know what? Then you get to go to that place that I aforementioned and commonly referred to as hell. Okay? Because you got to go someplace more painful. Unless you're ready to live together on planet Earth as one family and treat each other as a blood relative. This is what God Almighty, I believe, is calling all of us to do. To really care about each other the way we care about ourselves. And you can BS yourself, you can BS others. You can be self-deluded, you can be delusional and self-deceived and deceive others. Okay? But you're not going to deceive the one. That's the one residing in your heart, your mind, your conscience. Okay? To thine own self be true. Because that's the only one you're going to have to give account for on the day of reckoning, Judgment Day. Okay, where it's decided where we evolve to from here. Do we need more pain before we decide to be altruistic and benevolent and a decent human being so that we're found worthy to evolve to a better world? Do we need to go to a more painful place and hang out with people just like ourselves, hypocrites, murderers, thugs, liars, cheats? Is that I don't want to go there. I want to learn what I have to learn now. And I know that bottom line, it's all about money. And Jesus said it's the love of money is the root of all evil. He did not say it's the root of some of it. So we can barely touch the surface of how many ways money affects all of us. Okay? It's this whole paradigm, this reality, we call it, is infected with these top policymakers, these top money lovers that will stop at absolutely nothing to keep control over the masses through this master grand sorcery of theirs, this printed money, this counterfeit power that they've usurped. It's very satanic. It is Satan's method of operation, his MO. And all these people are in collusion with Satan, whether they know it or not. These are, think what you want. If there's a literal devil, it doesn't matter. I believe there's other types of creatures that we're related to. Higher, like the holy angels, and lower. Jesus said that we are created just a little lower than the angels. These are relatives, very close relatives, a lot closer than a dog. Okay? And it's the same with these fallen beings. There's other beings, I do believe it. And we're all affected by these top policymakers. Like Jesus said, the prince of this world is Satan. You've got to understand that until Jesus returns, Satan is the establishment. He's representing it, defending this money printing that goes against the will of over 90% of the American people. And then they call it a democracy. Jimmy Carter is right again. We don't have a democracy in America. You think these banksters, these money printers, the top policymakers would have had their way? I'm not blaming your local credit union. Okay? They're going to do whatever they can get away with. If they figure they're insured, sure, why not dump as much as they can? It's a product they're renting to the public. Do you understand? It was all contrived. They've conjured this thing up. They know what they were doing. They wanted to dump money on the public. They wanted us impoverished and into debt. These people that have indebted us are walking around with billions, if not trillions of dollars. Basically an infinite amount, as much as they could ever want. What the hell do they care about inflation? What do they care that your money is worth less every day? That you have unsound currency? And it's been like that my whole life. They shot down JFK. That really was going to give us sound currency. Okay? Let me put it this way. Jimmy Carter, in my opinion, was the best president we've had since JFK. I really believe that. I really believe that with every fiber of my being. I implore you, tell me, I challenge anybody to tell me who's been a better, more egalitarian, benevolent president since Jimmy Carter. And again, I'm not defending any warmongering he did because Gerald Celente seemed to know about this, the blood on his hands and all this stuff. Maybe he knows more than me, but maybe there were forces beyond his control. You don't know. I don't know. But like I said, I don't defend anybody. Every man stands or falls on his own. Okay? But, so back to JFK, he's the best one that we've had. It would take the likes of a Ralph Nader, Ron Paul presidential ticket, or maybe a Jesse Ventura, Alex Jones ticket, okay, to surpass Carter. Okay? That's my opinion. It's long overdue. Okay, America and the world, because we set the example for the world, because we are the world reserve currency. Our money, okay, is at the top of the control of the whole world economic system. And, they do it by military might. Hey, you don't go along with what we want. We'll make your lives miserable one way or another through sanctions and whatnot. And if that doesn't work, then we can always start a war through a false flag operation. And if you think that term is a conspiracy theory, pick up any encyclopedia and you'll read about it yourself. It's all a matter of fact. These people start wars for profit. That's just the way they roll. Okay, that's the way they operate. They start problems. They don't want problems solved. If the problems were solved, these people would be out of business. Okay, they cannot have that. They cannot have that. So you've got to understand, what's going on and how many forces there are opposed to solving problems. And primarily, the main problem they've got to keep going is this unsound currency. If they ever lose control of that, if humanity is ever allowed any appreciable amount of time to understand those factors that were critical, imperative, okay, to attaining sound currency, we would never let it go. We'd say, don't touch that. Don't you dare. That's a check and balance. That's accountability. That's saying, hey, if you manipulate the market, then you're going to pay. We're going to point you out. We're going to identify you. And we're going to spill our guts over the mainstream media on television. And we're going to show everybody what you're doing and why the cost of living adjustment to wages had to be so severe. Okay? Because you did things like cause housing to, in some cases, go up 50% a year through market manipulation and price fixing. It happened in Las Vegas. Look up the statistics. Approximately between 2003 and 2005,